Welcome to Uzbekistan's Economic Forum 2021, where I am delighted to be joined by Erik de Rotshild, Vice Chairman at Rothschild Co. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure being here.
The Uzbek government has announced a second generation of very comprehensive and ambitious reforms to further liberalize its economy. Can you describe what's going on here currently?
We've done a lot of work in this region and actually throughout the world over the thing, notably in privatization. And I must say that one of the countries which stood out as having a real global plan for development was Uzbekistan. I mean, in the last 5 or 6 years, they have both devised a plan, but also started implementing it in a very, very positive way. And I think what is very important in this plan is that it is completely a widespread plan. I mean, it is, of course, economic, but it's also political, it's also on education, it's also on social, and in all these areas, it has a plan to develop intelligently and inclusively. They use this word very often. It could mean anything. But I think in the case of Uzbekistan, it really means a lot, both for the government, the prosperity of the country, and the prosperity of the people. The development of the GDP per head, which has been achieved in the last years, is very remarkable, and it's one of the statistics which I find is really an incredibly important one, because it shows that everybody in the country is profiting from the developments which are proposed.
Going back to privatization, the government has the intention to put 3/4 of what it owns into private hands, and you were in fact involved with a very large deal yourself. What can you tell us about it?
We were involved in this very exciting deal on Coca-Cola, and I think it was a very, very good operation to start with, because it's not a strategic. I mean, Coca-Cola, of course, is everybody loves Coca-Cola, etc. But it's not a strategic operation. But it's a very profitable one. And throughout the world, the operations of Coca-Cola have always produced for their owners extremely good results. But in this case, I think that quite rightly, the government saw something which wasn't strategic, which was very valuable, which would bring to the country potential for future development, both inside and outside the country. They hope even to develop exports in the thing, and all this will be positive for the country. But on the other hand, having a return and quite a very agreeable amount of cash to come in actually helps the country to develop other operations which often are both more difficult but also more strategic. The banking sector, etc., is of course very, very important, but there's a lot of politics in banking. In Coca-Cola, it was the ideal thing to start, and I'm really happy that we were able to help them, and I think we were able to help them because of the way this Coca-Cola is commercialized throughout the world. It was one where there was able to be competition, and when one says competition, that means one usually can get a good price. So that, I think it was a very good start, and we were very happy to be able to do it. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't, as one say, the asset wasn't strategic, and that made the nitty-gritty was complicated, but the general approach was one which was quite straightforward, and the result was very positive for everybody.
So a step in the right direction. Which other sectors do you think offer great potential here?
I think there are a certain amount of sectors where privatization can be very positive. The banking sector in general, throughout the world, is changing dramatically. And the sort of change which is taking place is actually using a lot of artificial intelligence, a lot of use of internet, etc., etc. And this change, of course, is actually costly and complicated. And therefore, in the banking sector, to have certain of the banks able, in fact, to have the help and the development and use the development that has been used by these banks in recent years is something which is very positive. So in banking, yes, it's political, but because of the change which is taking place, it is something which is probably very necessary, and they will have to play very subtly. Banking is a subtle business, and they will have to play subtly in how they actually achieve this. And we hope to be able to help them in that area.
Earlier, you alluded to sustainability and the need for the economy to be inclusive. What does inclusive mean to you? I mean, what does sustainable growth look like? Inclusive
means that what one is doing is, on the one hand, helping the economy of the country, because if the economy doesn't work, then nothing then really develops efficiently. So you need an efficient development of the economy. So you start by that. And what does it mean, efficient? It means a lot of things. It means both being profitable. I start by that, but maybe it's not the most important. It means being profitable. It means being able to use all the new techniques, etc., which are being developed in the banking world. But it means also to be able to help the industries which need the help of a bank, the investment, the lending of a bank to be able to develop. And it means a potential development where the GDP per head actually becomes more leveled, with not some very high and some very low, becomes more leveled. And when you get an increase of 10%, it doesn't mean that something are doing 20 and the others are doing 0. It means that everybody is having an increase of approximately the same amount. And that is very, very important. The GDP per head, it's a good thing, but you've got to see how much it actually then levels, that it's a leveling operation. And the third one, of course, which is, I mean, an obsession of all of us, etc. I am, apart from being a banker, I'm in agriculture and in the grape agriculture, making wine. And the climate change is something which is absolutely dramatic. One has seen it. And in every type of agriculture, be it making bottles of wine which sell for very high price, or actually just making the good rice or the good wheat that has got to be, that everybody can eat, whatever that thing, the climate change on that is obliging everybody to have a lot of imagination and a lot of input.
Finally, as the country holds its first ever proper economic forum, how important was it for you to be here?
What I found very interesting is that quite a few people went completely further than privatization and went on to the whole basis of what is economically important for the people of the country, went into the problem of creating retirement funds which actually are real funds and not just government handouts, and where they can profit. Both, of course, the government can be generous, but if the economy is moving fast and developing fast, if you have a retirement fund, well, that fund also develops with the development of the country, and people's retirements actually become more impressive and larger. And so an economic forum of this sort, it's a way of bringing to the country business people, but also people who represent the economic side of governments outside, can get a feeling of what's happening here and push them to become sort of active in helping in this development.